Hi everyone, this is Mike with Play More Games, and today we're going to be playing just a little bit of Burning Banners. So this is, honestly, I've had a lot of fun learning this game. This is a game I didn't know I wanted, but I'm glad I have it. So hopefully you saw my first video. If you haven't, you can watch this, no problem. This is the first campaign scenario. So in the first video, I played part of the introductory campaign, which has the basic rules, the invasion of Drefeld. Now we're looking at the first campaign, and if we take a look at this book here, it is called Fight to the Death. Okay, so we're still on the same map. And we're going to check out some new things, okay? So this is our introduction to the advanced game, and I think once you play the advanced game, you're not really going to want to go back to the basic game because it adds a lot of cool stuff. My opinion on the term basic game versus advanced game: the basic game is basically a quick way to learn the fundamentals of the game, but the advanced game is the game. So, alright, so just for the purpose of today, I'm going to move the camera over and we're going to take a look at the first new thing, which is our new factions. So last time we played with Fjordland and the Oathborn. Today we are going to play with the Orcs and the Goblins. Okay. Now, if you are new to my channel, I will warn you that these videos are mostly just for fun. There are a lot of great guys out there that make videos that have great production content, do a really nice job editing and things like that. I'm just kind of slapping this together. So I don't have a ton of time to play games. I have even less time to sit around and edit them. So please just keep that in mind. Yeah. Anyway, so we have our new 2-player boards here. They are part of something called the Shakasha Kingdoms, or something along that nature. Shashka Kingdoms. Okay. Totally not all there with the lore yet. Anyway, basically, when you come down to the campaign, or the Book of the Chronicle, which is the long 10-year war, there are 10 different entry points to the war, each corresponding to a different scenario, or you can link the whole thing together. Generally, what it breaks down to is there are 6 factions in the game and 2 sides, the Resistance and the Invaders. Now, there are also campaigns. There are 17 campaigns. There really are a lot. 1 map, 2 map, 4 map, 1 player, or 2 player, 3 player, 4 player, 5 player, 6 player. Basically, there are 2 sides, so it's very easy, I would say, if you wanted to do the campaign game, break it down into the Invaders and the Resistance. Okay. Now, the Orcs and the Goblins are both Invader factions, and they work a little bit differently in terms of their economic engine than the Oathborn and Fjordland. So, if you remember, we were tracking income. We had our little income markers, and we would track them up and down the board. And you would get a settlement, you would get more income. You lose a settlement, you lose income. So, first things first, Orcs and Goblins do not track income via settlements. They're kind of, invaders. They're just looking to loot and pillage. They get extra gold compared to the other factions when they take a settlement. And we'll talk about raising settlements as well. So they'll definitely want to do that, at least a lot more, in my opinion, than Fjordland and the Oathborn will. So how do they? How does their economic engine work? Well, they take and burn settlements. In fact, when they control a settlement, they have to pay 1 gold during the income phase for each settlement they control. So you won't want to control too many. And, as you might expect, that'll mean that you'll have to keep expanding. Or, if you run out of places that grow, your society will begin to collapse. All right. So the units are different, and we'll take a closer look at what they each have. The last thing I want to point out for right now is we are going to add hero units as well. What I like to do is I like to take this deck of cards and close my eyes, shuffle them, and then grab one. So each of these leaders, like this is a cool one. This guy turns into a siege engine. Each one of these is a mage. So this is important for the magic, which we'll cover in a minute here. So yes, this video will have magic. We'll cover blessings, spells, and treasures. So both get one for free at start. You can buy more. They're random. So I like to shuffle these up and pick one at random, close my eyes. Or you could do the same with the tiles. Okay. So that's heroes. Then we have blessings. So let's take a look at spells. We have the magic card display here. And I'm just going to bring this over. Okay. All right. So we have spells, treasures, and then the blessings. So the spells is a shared deck between all players. The treasures are a shared deck between all players. On your turn, or at the start of the game, you'll draw 3 spells, no treasures, and 1 blessing. Now that is a hand. That's your hand. You can exceed that. You can have more spells. You can have more blessings in your hand. You can only keep 2 treasures. And we'll go to treasures in a minute. Alright. Now this looks the same as before, except we're adding these bookmarkers. And these are going to come up during the arcane study phase, and you'll set these based on scenario. So basically there's 2 results possible, churn or glyph. And what that's going to determine is how many spell cards you're going to get back. If you're starting to get confused, don't worry, it's very easy. I will show you in a minute. Okay. So blessings are unique to each faction. And just to give you an idea, these are pretty straightforward, right? So this blessing has lots of information on here, right? So this tells us that it's a cantrip. Cantrips can only be played at certain times. Cantrips can be played in a combat phase and outside of a combat phase. But if you are not the person taking the turn, I'll use the term non-active player, you can only play cantrips when you're the non-active player. You can't play, for example, this card. Now you look, it doesn't have the cantrip symbol. Now you might read the text and say, well, of course I can't. I'm not moving my units. I can't do that now. Well, that's just a reminder. Okay. So this means it requires a mage to be cast. Some of these don't. Okay. And what's a mage? Okay. All of our heroes have that hero symbol. Those are mages. Okay. All right. So everyone gets one of those at start, so I'm going to grab one at random for the goblins. Okay, we'll take a look. Oh, this is the one I was pointing to earlier. A goblin army gets a +1 movement rating. If stacked with a hero, it gains +2, and the stack may move through enemy-occupied hexes. Well, that's pretty cool. So in the basic game, I might not have mentioned it, but your stacking limit is 1 army, and that's more or less the same in this, except that you can also put 1 hero with any army, right? So that's another thing that keeps this game pretty simple. Simple being a relative term here, is that your stacking is not super huge. All right, so the orc blessings, and these are different. They help the factions differentiate. So after rolling its dice in combat, an orc army may reroll all failures. After resolving combat, the army takes a hit. Okay. Alright, and then each side will grab 3 spells. So 1, 2, 3. I'll put these for the goblins. So here's a cantrip. So if we're the non-active player, we can only play this Here's the range. We need a mage to cast it. And here is the effect. When target stack, monster, or garrison takes one or more hit, roll 3 white dice or light dice. Each success negates 1 hit. Pretty cool. This one has a range of 3 to 5. We do a strike, and we'll talk more about strikes if and when we get to them. And then place a wandering sea monster in a sea hex adjacent to a coastal hex. So why would we want to do that? Well, we can use a monster, which we haven't talked about yet, to strike your opponents. Pretty cool. And then let's draw 3 for the orcs. So strike 2. This is pretty good. For this scenario, it's not going to work because I think welcoming settlement. Well, that's the question. If I take a settlement, does it become welcoming to me? I'm going to say probably yes. Target unit, monster, or garrison reduces its combat rating by -1 white die. Discard a spell, cancel an attack or strike against target hex. Pretty cool. So those are for the orcs. We talked about treasures. So treasures are basically what you get for defeating monsters. So no one starts with them. You can hold up to 2. Alright. Now let's go back to the board here. Up and away we go. So, we'll zoom out a bit. Along the board edge here, these black spaces are where orcs will enter. So those are defined as entry hexes. So they can always put new units there. And then up at the top of the board, and I'll just move the camera up here, is goblin entry hexes. So we'll set up our units, starting with the orcs first. And how do we win this scenario? Well, we win this scenario by having the most settlements at the end of 5 turns. Okay. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, yes, I did confirm it. Once we have a settlement with a control marker, it is welcoming to its own armies. Okay, sorry for that edit here. Alright, we're going to look at monsters. So we have this mug here, and basically, when we explore a lair, we'll pull a monster at random. Okay, so these are regular lairs, this symbol. These are sea lairs. Every sea lair will have at least 1 coastal hex that it can attack. Otherwise, you couldn't use ship movement to like be here and then attack. It doesn't really work. There's only a few sea lairs, sea monsters given. For example, this map only has 1 space for a sea monster. I haven't actually unfolded the other 3. But based on the fact that there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sea monster tokens, there's probably not too many. There are a lot of regular monsters, and I'll just pull one at random. This guy's kind of weak. So this shows how many attack dice it does. This shows any special abilities it might have. This shows the gold reward you get when you kill it. And in addition to the gold reward, you also get a treasure. So this is how you get the treasures from the treasure deck. So you have weak stuff like this, like you could probably roll them pretty quickly. And then you have big nasty looking guys like this. And since these monsters come under your opponent's control, you can play, if they're a mage, you can play spells for them. Now this is important. You cannot play a spell that eliminates the caster. That is an important exception to the rule, because otherwise you could like kill the monster in order to deny your opponent the treasure and the gold, which is against the rules. So you can't do that. I thought I was pretty cool and I figured that out, but you can't do that. The other thing worth mentioning is that if you discover the monster, your opponent controls it, and your opponent can do strikes depending on the range of the monster. So when you go to explore a place, if you don't kill it, it can kind of like wear you down. So keep that in mind when you go exploring. That being said, I'm always going to explore because I want the treasures. The treasures are pretty cool. A couple other things worth mentioning. Every year, spring, summer, autumn turn, on the winter turn, you kind of refresh the monsters. In some of the campaign games, you'll put abandoned lair markers out, which kind of gives you fewer opportunities to get monsters in their treasure. Yeah, I think for the most part that is about it. On the season display, on the autumn space, there's an autumn churn marker. You add that after the summer phase. It just kind of represents magic getting more difficult. So in the arcane study phase, in a glyph turn, and I'll show you, in a glyph turn you refresh your spells, treasures, and blessings. In a churn turn, you pick one. So you refresh blessings, spells, or your treasures. And even though it's the orcs' turn, orcs go first, all players refresh their spells, blessings, treasures. Depending on whether it's a churn or a glyph, affects how many. But all players do that on all players' arcane study phase. Okay. So that's about 15 minutes of rambling and explaining. So I am going to get us set up here. So I am going to pause while I go through setup, and I will come back in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. Alright, I'm back. We are all set up and ready to go. So you can see that I have the orcs lined up here in their entry spaces, and we'll just take you up. And then we have some goblins set up at the top of the board here as well. And they're ready to go. So, let's zoom in on the orcs here first. So first off, we have our leader. And, let's see. That should be good. We have our leader here, and he has a special ability. Okay. Lock. Alright? So that means when you lock, I don't know, other places might call it tapping, right? You do this. Unlock, the start of your turn, next turn, right? So you can use this ability once, which lets him take two armies and make them fight each other. The Goblin hero, lock, right? Reroll target d6, yours or your opponent's. And there's no range on that, so that's pretty neat. So you can see that these guys are stacked. I bought an Orc Reaver army. I spent 8 of their 15 gold, and I spent 9 of the Goblin 20. So they have 11, and the Orcs have 7. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to send this unit that you can barely see here, And I'm sorry, I know this is not optimal, but he is going to go towards Shaded Vale, which is right here. You can't see him. Then here you can see. We're going to go 1, maybe, yeah, maybe we can do that. 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore this keep here. Alright, so I'm going to grab a monster at random here. And he's a little strong. He rolls a lot of dice, that's for sure. He'll get 5 gold if we kill him. Alright. So this falls under the control of the goblins. It's a 2-player scenario, so I'll be able to remember that. But we can't play any spells on this guy's behalf because he's not a mage. Okay? So, what do we have? Do we have anything we can use? Discard a spell, cancel an attack or strike against target hex. Well, I could kind of back out. Strike 2. We don't have a welcoming settlement yet, but if the battle doesn't go well, we can try and use this later. And then we could use this to make it roll 1 less white die. So we might as well use this. It'll be 2 black and 1 white for the monster, and then 1 black and 1 white for the orcs. So here is the monster roll. You can see it got 2 hits, this potentially being a critical, and that is, critical is not confirmed. Whoa, good catch by me. Alright. Alright, and then a black and a white dice. And we got 1 hit. So, unless we have... I guess we'll just take the hit. So we flip this army to its reduced side. So we're not off to a good start. As the orcs, on the Goblin turn, we can activate this monster. Okay. So then let's zoom out. Now these guys can start in a sea entry area. Okay, they have a movement of 3, but they're technically on ships. So they'll be able to go 6. So we'll send them to here and they'll land, so that'll end their turn. That'll end their turn. And then we'll take this one and go 1, 2, 3. Now that'll end everyone's turn, which means we didn't get any settlements, we didn't get any treasure. Is there anything else that I can do? Probably not until we take a settlement. Oh well. We'll end the turn, which means we're going to flip over. We're going to do an arcane study phase. And this is a glyph symbol. Okay? It means all players can refresh their hand of blessings and spells and treasures. Neither player has any treasures. So, we'll get a spell. And we have the option to discard one beforehand, before drawing up to 3. But we'll just keep the one we have, draw back up to 3. We can do the same with our blessing, but we'll keep our blessing. The goblins, we'll keep our cards the same. So now it's the goblins' turn, and we'll take a look at the goblins up here. Alright. So, let me just flip these around here. I was basically presuming there would be another player on the other side, but of course there's not. It's just me here. All right. So, here's what we're going to do. We have 2 hobgoblins. All right. You can see these are a relatively stronger unit. And I'm going to send this hobgoblin 1. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to start and we're going to fight the monster that's in here. So let's see what they get. They get plague rats. Okay. Not very strong. They have the stealth special ability. Okay. So stealth lets them do an ambush. So basically they will roll first, okay, with a single black die. And it was a 1, so nothing happened. And we roll back with our full strength 3 dice here. And we get 2 hits, which is more than enough to kill it. In fact, 1 was a critical, but we're not going to track it because that's more than enough than we need. So we get 1 gold. This gets flipped over to let us know that until the winter season we can't refresh it. We get 1 gold. And we take a treasure card. Okay. Target opponent must discard a spell or a blessing. Pretty good. These we get to reuse. So that is pretty good. Alright. I was thinking about using this card to target this garrison, but if we use a strike against an empty garrison, I believe what's going to happen is if we're successful, we're going to raise it. And if we raise it when we're not actually in it, we're not going to get to loot it. Yeah. So, do we want to try and take it so we can loot it, or do we want to... Yeah, you know what? We are going to play that card and roll 2 dice. And it's a range of 3 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got no hits. You can't strike back, so... Oh well. So... what we're going to do is we're going to build a siege engine for 3. The goblins only have 1 siege engine. I think most factions only have 1. Okay. It's got a movement speed of 2. You can start here, more or less overstacked. 2. Okay. And then we're going to try and take this. So we get a black dice. And there's a garrison, they get a white dice. Each side gets 1 hit, so that is a tie. And in a tie, if someone had ranged, which neither side does, that side would win. So it doesn't do anything. We'll go 1, 2, 3. And now we'll try to attack again. So this will roll 2 white dice and a black. We only got 1 hit, regrettably. And then we'll roll the white dice. and they got a hit as well, so we're tied there again. So far not going very well for the Goblins. These guys will just bring down 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We're kind of out of space here. So we're just going to do that for now. Unfortunately, we didn't get any settlements, so we can't spawn anyone else in. Alright, so that's the Goblins. So now the Goblins will get an arcane study phase. And they also pulled a churn, which is possible because there are 3 markers, 2 turns, 2 churns, 1 glyph, or it's a glyph, not a churn. So there are 2 glyphs and 1 churn. That's set up by scenario special rules. So each side will refill its hand of spells, blessings, and treasures. If we had had the opportunity to use the treasure for the Goblins, it would refresh now. But since we haven't, it's still in our hand. Okay. So I am going to take care of that. And that is the first turn of the advanced scenario, the first scenario I've used using the advanced rules. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play 2 or 3 turns until we get to a spot that's a little more interesting, and then I will pick this video back up. So for you, I'll be back in just a second. For me, it might be a little while. So we'll see. Alright. Sit tight. Alright everybody, I am back, and so what was probably pretty seamless for you was about 12 hours for me. But I played through, this is the start of the last turn, and what's interestingly enough here, this is the 3rd time I've played this scenario, and every time it's gone pretty much totally different. So the first couple times, the first time it was pretty even, the second time the Orcs did a really good job, and then the third time, this time, the Goblins did a really good job. I'm just going to show you the last little bit here. I'm only going to play the Orcs because I don't think they're going to be able to win, but because the Goblins go second, if the Orcs don't get enough settlements, they will lose. So, right now, here's what we control. The Orcs have Shaded Vale and Chanos, and the Goblins have Mangut, Norstead, over here is Korikar, and then they have 2 settlements to the north, Arlud and Tagathal. Now, the Goblins kind of tactically raised this one here, which, if the Orcs take this one, this settlement is hostile, so they can't put a control marker there. So technically there is no settlement there. So this won't be able to be scored for VP. And the Goblins have all of their control markers behind the board, behind the Goblins' lines here. So it'll be difficult for the Orcs to kind of break through this wall of units. I know there's no zones of control or anything like that, but the other problem the Orcs have is they only have 4 coins, and since we don't want to lose any of the 2 control markers we currently have, we have to pay 2 coins to keep those control markers there. So we only have 2 coins, which means that we can buy 2 Orc Scouts or 1 Orc Reaver if we aren't able to take any of these territories. So let's just try. We'll try and take Zarenbar. So let's see. We'll roll a black and a white dice and we get no hits. Let's check if we have any spells. I mean, I probably should have done that first. So I guess it is a little bit of cheating. Alright, we're going to play this Blessing, which gives them 2 extra black dice. Just because I want to try and keep this game going for a little longer. Okay, so we do get one hit, and we'll roll a d6 to see if we can confirm the critical. No. So then the garrison will roll back. So we do take this town. The blessing card says that this unit will take a hit. So now we get 3 gold. So we're up to 5. And we'll place a control marker here. Okay, so now we have 3 to the Goblin 5. So let's spend 2 to buy some Orc Reavers here. And we'll go 1, 2, 3. So we'll roll a black and a white dice. No. That's too bad. Alright, we have the siege engine here. So we'll roll a single black dice for that. And we get a critical. Critical is not confirmed, so we'll roll for the settlement. And of course, so they cannot advance, settlement stands. Alright, then this Orc Reavers unit will attempt to take the fort. Nope. All these cards are mostly useless. I can't really use them for anything. So then that's going to be it. The Orcs really can't do anything else. I'll show you what I mean. Technically, I couldn't even have gone down here. I did take control of this settlement, but if you build something outside of the settlement, it gets put down in the finished status. So I think I've been doing that wrong quite a bit. So, as it stands, the Orcs have 3, the Goblins have 5, so the Goblins with 18 coins can afford to pay for all of their control markers, so they don't even have to worry about that. So that means that the Goblins will win this scenario. So yeah. So I've made quite a few I think I've messed that up quite a bit with building units and settlements that I just took. So anyway, this is a learning scenario for me as well as for anyone that might be watching this. So I'm going to end this video here. I'll say that that is campaign 1, and I will go ahead and I will get Fight to the Death is the name. I will start a new campaign from the book. I kind of want to try a 2-mapper, so it might be difficult, even more difficult to film that, but I want to make another video for you here, so stick around and I'll show you whatever I get up to. So thanks for watching. If you notice any other rules inaccuracies or anything like that, feel free to point them out. If not, I hope you're enjoying these videos as we play Burning Banners from Compass Games, which should be available in retail. Check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Mike with Play More Games, and have a nice day.